I know there are families where favoritism is an unspoken truth, but in my house, it was displayed like a golden trophy in the middle of the living room. Every time someone asked if I had siblings, I'd force a smile and say, "Yeah, I have a perfect copy, produced by my parents exactly 9 minutes before me." Just 9 minutes, yet it was enough to make me feel like an afterthought in my own life. My sister Amanda was always the magical little princess, while I was just the silent shadow following behind. Even as a kid, I knew I couldn't compete with a legend raised on praise and indulgence. But what I didn't expect was that kind of unfairness could be so brutal. It warped the childhood of a kid who only wanted to be loved. Amanda is my twin sister, but those 9 minutes felt like an invisible wall between two different worlds. To my parents, she was a miracle, their first child after years of fertility treatments. I was a bonus surprise, unwanted. My mom once told the story of the moment the doctor said there was another baby and she cried, not out of joy but fear. "How can I take care of two?" she'd say with a distant look in her eyes, never realizing how that sentence would cut into my heart for years. Even in preschool, I felt the difference. That day in our spring play, I was cast as the lead, the spring fairy, while Amanda played a tree. When the stage lights hit me, I looked around, searching for my parents' gaze. But they had already left the audience when Amanda forgot her lines and started crying. After the play, I excitedly brought them my certificate of recognition, and my mom just patted my head absent-mindedly before turning to hug Amanda, sighing, "She really tried. She's so brave." I still remember the first time I got a perfect score on a second-grade math test. My teacher wrote "excellent" and put a star sticker on it. I proudly stuck it on the fridge hoping my parents would notice. But that day, Amanda scraped her knee on the playground, and my award got buried under praise for her toughness. They bought her a new box of crayons. Me, I was told, maybe try harder next time. Next time? When hadn't I been trying? As we grew older, the gap between us only widened with blatant favoritism. I joined the science club and won 3rd place in the school-wide solar energy project. Amanda took dance but skipped the recital because of a mild cold. My parents didn't come to my award ceremony, but they took Amanda to the doctor and posted a photo of her on Facebook with the caption, "My sweet girl is always such a fighter." And me? I quietly tucked my medal into a drawer. I used to dream that if I were better, more outstanding, my parents would finally see me, but every time I stepped up they turned away. In 5th grade, I was chosen as the captain of the school's reading team. I came home, heart pounding, ready to share the news. But Amanda had just been cut from the cheerleading squad. The whole house was in mourning. Mom made her favorite stew and I ate instant noodles. I never got the chance to speak. Amanda was always described as the ideal sister, the reliable firstborn, even though I was the one staying up late doing homework. For both of us, when she asked. My dad used to joke to relatives, "Mary came after, so she always needs her sister to take care of her." I'd sit there, listening to everyone laugh at dinner, wanting to scream, "Who's taking care of who? Who did Amanda's history project all semester, Dad?" Eventually, I started withdrawing from the rigged competition. I stopped bringing tests home, stopped mentioning my achievements. Once, I won 2nd place in a citywide writing contest. The prize was a gold-plated pen. I hid it in my desk drawer, my parents wouldn't care. That same day, Amanda got a C on her chemistry test, and my mom spent an hour comforting her. "You did your best, sweetheart, I know." Sometimes I wonder, if I'd been born 9 minutes earlier, would anything be different? I left our small town in Oregon at 18, carrying an old suitcase, a full scholarship from Stanford, and a fragile belief that if I just became good enough, I'd be loved. My 4 years of college were a blur. I majored in computer science, worked part-time, chasing dreams and old wounds. I rarely spoke to my family, except for brief holiday calls that almost always revolved around Amanda. Every time I said I'm interning at a startup in Silicon Valley, my mom would immediately respond, "Amanda's seeing someone named Brandon. He seems really promising, what do you think?" When I excitedly shared that I'd been accepted into a research program at Caltech, my dad just muttered, "That's nice," before changing the subject to Amanda's new selfie that got 300 likes. It felt like I existed in some bizarre dimension where all my efforts only mattered if they helped Amanda shine. Amanda was different. She did one semester at community college, then dropped out, saying she was finding her own path. That path led her to upscale bars, where she met Logan. A man 10 years older, successful, wealthy, and easily manipulated by a pair of fake innocent eyes. Less than a year later, they were engaged. And from that moment my parents were hypnotized. They threw parties everywhere, telling Amanda's fairy tale love story, like she'd rewritten Cinderella herself. My mom called me at work just to gush about the 2-carat diamond ring Logan gave her. I was in the middle of a team meeting, while a colleague presented a strategy for a $1 million project, and I was listening to Mom chirping, "Aren't you lucky to have such a sister?" Lucky? Once I joked that I'd been promoted to lead developer. Mom laughed and asked, "Oh really? So is anyone in your company interested in you yet?" I swallowed back tears. I didn't need a man to validate my worth, but to them, if I didn't have a white wedding dress, I was still incomplete. I landed my dream job at a fast-growing tech company. I was only 24, already had equity, and was promoted to lead a technical team. Every morning, I woke up thinking, what great thing will I build today? But every night, when I opened my phone, all I saw were messages about Amanda's wedding invites, her dress, her photos. No one asked how I was doing, if I was eating well, or if I was sleeping at all. They only asked what I thought about pastel pink for the bridesmaids' dresses. Amanda's wedding was held at a 5-star resort in Malibu, a 3-day event filled with parties, champagne, and a celebrity photographer. I was invited, of course, as the behind-the-scenes photographer and helper to the bride. When I declined, saying my company was about to launch a new product and I couldn't take time off, my mom practically screamed over the phone, "Mary, it's your sister's wedding. All you care about is work, work, work. You never think about family." I stayed silent. Because if I opened my mouth, I'd scream. Who exactly has never thought about me? That night, I sat in my small apartment in San Jose, staring at the city lights from the balcony. I remembered the day I got into Stanford. I had called Mom in tears of joy. She said, "That's great, honey, but Amanda's preparing for her graduation dance. Don't bother her right now." I was never the main character in my own story. When Amanda got married, I sent an envelope with a card and a simple silver Tiffany bracelet, a gift I bought with my overtime pay. No one said thank you. 2 weeks later, there was a family gathering. I didn't go, but I heard Mom had said at dinner, "Amanda married rich, such a smart choice. Mary will probably end up marrying her computer." I laughed, a dry, hollow laugh. I never thought a will could break my heart like that. My grandmother, the only person in the family who ever treated me like an actual human being, left a sum of money to Amanda and me, split evenly, to cover wedding expenses. She had always known my parents favored Amanda, and before she passed, she called me into her hospital room, held my hand tightly and whispered, "Mary, I know you've always been treated unfairly. This money is for both of you. But your portion you must keep for yourself, because I don't trust they'll be fair." I cried. She was the only one who had ever stood by me, even if silently. After the funeral, I didn't bring up the money. I assumed my parents would honor her wishes. But I forgot one thing. In their world, Amanda was always the lead role, and I was the footnote no one reads. Almost a year after Amanda's wedding, the same wedding they posted about non-stop for 3 months, flaunting the ring, the parties, even the 5-course menu on Facebook, I was having wine with Uncle Max, Mom's younger brother, who tends to get chatty after a few drinks. I was just asking about his house when he suddenly blurted out, "Oh, right, that money your grandma left for you too? I heard your parents used your share to pay for Amanda's wedding, didn't they?" I froze. I looked at Uncle Max, speechless. My heart was pounding, like I had just been betrayed for the 1,000th time. Only this time, it came, notarized. Uncle Max thought I already knew. When he saw my face go pale, he sighed, downed his whiskey and muttered, "Damn, too late now." That night, I sat alone in my apartment, opened the scanned copy of Grandma's will. I had saved it in a private folder, like the only proof that someone in this family had ever seen my worth. The words were clear. $100,000 to be split evenly between Mary and Amanda, for wedding expenses, or any personal use they see fit. $50,000. Enough to fund a simple wedding or put down a payment on a house. But to me, it wasn't just money. It was trust. A rare bit of fairness my grandmother had set aside for me in a life of being overlooked. The next morning, I called Mom. Her voice was light, like she was chatting over afternoon tea. "How are you, Mary?" "Amanda just sent me pictures from their honeymoon in Bora Bora." "It's beautiful, sweetheart." "Mom," I cut her off, "I want to ask about the money Grandma left." There was a pause, then she chuckled, trying to sound casual. "Oh, that? You know already. I meant to tell you, just forgot." "Forgot?" My voice trembled with anger. "You forgot to tell me that you took my entire share, Grandma's money meant for me, to pay for Amanda's wedding?" "Well, it's not like you needed it, right?" she said, her tone smooth and chilling. "You're not getting married anytime soon, and Amanda needed it urgently. Logan paid a lot too, but she really wanted a beautiful wedding. I thought you'd understand." I was speechless. I had spent my whole life enduring, but in that moment, every boundary inside me shattered. "No, Mom, you're wrong. I don't understand, and I don't forgive. You had no right to take what wasn't yours. Even if I'm not getting married, that was still my money." "Mary, don't blow this out of proportion. It was for the sake of family. Your sister needed it more. I thought with a stable job like yours you wouldn't hold a grudge over something so small." "Small?" I let out a bitter laugh. "To you, every pain I go through is just something small, isn't it?" My dad chimed in from somewhere on the call, as if he'd been secretly listening the whole time. "Mary, I think you're overreacting. It's not like you ever really needed that money. Amanda's wedding was a big deal. You're always focused on work. Nowhere near getting married anytime soon." "Just because I'm not getting married doesn't mean that money becomes community property," I shouted. "If Amanda didn't have enough, she and her husband should have cut back, not stolen my share." In the end, I said one thing before hanging up. "From now on, don't call me again. Unless it's to return that money." There's nothing left to say. I threw my phone onto the bed, sat on the floor and tried to breathe. My chest didn't hurt anymore. Just a bone-deep emptiness. For the first time I truly understood something. It wasn't just favoritism. To them, I was a backup plan, a reserve asset for Amanda, a storage bin for things the older daughter doesn't need. And that was enough. That night I opened my laptop, hands trembling but heart cold. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times. The day I would stop chasing something called family, that had for nearly 30 years only left cuts and bruises. But as I typed the first words of the email to my parents, I knew. There was no turning back. Subject: about Grandma's inheritance and the rest of my life. "I know you used my entire share of the inheritance for Amanda's wedding without asking." This wasn't just an act of fraud. It was the final confirmation that I've never been seen as a valuable member of this family. I don't expect to be loved like Amanda. That's impossible. But I have the right to be respected. You took away the last bit of fairness Grandma tried to give me, and I've had enough. From today forward, I'm officially cutting contact with the family. Unless and until you return my full share of the inheritance. Don't call, don't text, don't pretend nothing happened. I'm no longer the shadow you can use every time Amanda needs something. Goodbye, Mary." I hit send and sat still for several minutes. No tears. No rage. Just a lightness. As if I'd finally undone an invisible chain wrapped around my neck since I was 8. I deleted their numbers from my contacts, blocked them on Facebook, Instagram, even the relatives who constantly liked Amanda's photos while ignoring my existence. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. I started therapy the following week. My psychologist, Lisa, a woman in her 50s with gentle but piercing eyes that seemed to see right through me, asked, after a few sessions, "Mary, have you ever felt like you were living to prove something?" I laughed, a hoarse, bitter sound. I lived hoping that one day I'd be recognized as a real daughter. Lisa didn't say anything. She just rested her hand on her notebook and nodded. And I knew. That was the moment I began to heal. The following spring, my company went public on the NASDAQ. I stayed up all night watching the ticker flash like fireworks. My shares, earned from 5 relentless years of work, surpassed 7 figures in just a few weeks. I bought a 2-bedroom condo in Nob Hill, San Francisco, with floor-to-ceiling windows that looked out over the bay and sunsets that bathed the sky in orange each evening. I redesigned every corner to my taste, hung abstract paintings I loved, color-coded my bookshelf, and adopted a cat named Ruby, the first cat I ever owned. That Amanda didn't take away from me like she did when I was 10. I invested part of my money into a green tech fund, set up a retirement account, and saved the rest for something special. I didn't know what yet, but I knew it wasn't for anyone who ever made me feel worthless. My new friends, brilliant, non-judgmental, kind listeners, were people I met through work, who slowly became the family I never had. Jasmine, my best friend, was the first to help me hang the curtains, bringing wine and pizza the day I moved in. No one asked, "When are you getting married?" No one compared me to an invisible sister. I began living like I deserved a full life, not as a forgotten copy. During a business trip to Seattle, I stood in front of the hotel mirror, straightening my blazer before presenting to investors, and realized I was no longer Mary, the selfish one, as my mother used to say. I was Mary Peterson, lead software developer at a top tech company, a woman who rebuilt herself from the ruins called childhood. Amanda still posted on social media. Fancy dinners, Bahamas vacations, designer handbags. But I didn't feel anything anymore. No envy. No sadness. Just distance. One night, curled up on the sofa with Ruby, I got an email from an unknown address. No subject, no greeting, just one short line. "We're still family, Mary. Blood can't be cut." I stared at the words like they were in a foreign language. Then I hit block again. I didn't need any more reminders of something called family when I'd never truly known what that meant. 2 years after I hit block on everyone who once called themselves my family, my phone rang in the middle of a meeting. A strange number from Portland. At first, I planned to ignore it, but 6 calls in 10 minutes stirred an uneasy feeling in my gut. I stepped out of the meeting room, heart pounding, and answered. The voice on the other end was hoarse and panicked. "Mary, it's Uncle Walter, can you hear me?" I froze. It had been over 2 years since I'd heard the voice of anyone from my mother's side. And now, a voice from the past came through, heavy with dread. "What's going on?" "It's your parents. They were in an accident. A truck ran a red light. Crashed straight into their car at the intersection." I couldn't speak. My body went cold, like someone had poured a bucket of ice water over me. "Your mom broke her leg, pelvic injuries too. Your dad is in critical condition. Doctors say he might need multiple surgeries. They're at Mercy Hospital in Portland." I swallowed hard. "Do they have insurance?" Uncle Walter paused, then answered like he was confessing. "No. They let it expire 6 months ago. The doctors said the treatment costs could exceed $200,000. I closed my eyes, a pounding ache crept into my temples. I knew they'd come back. I knew it was only a matter of time. "Why me?" I asked, voice dry. "Where's Amanda?" My uncle sighed, like he had expected that question. "She visited once after the accident. But She doesn't want to bother her husband. It's been less than 2 years since the wedding, and she's busy taking care of his 2 kids. She said it wasn't a good time to ask for money. I laughed, a laugh as cold as steel. But it's a good time for me, right? Uncle Walter went quiet. They only remember me when Amanda can't help. I'm still the backup plan. The emergency wallet when their golden child turns her back. Is that it? Mary, I don't know what happened between you and them. But this is a special situation. I emphasized every word. No, this is the consequence of a choice. I chose to leave their lives, and now, I'm not going back. That afternoon I stood on my balcony, watching the city stretch beneath the sunset. There were no more tears in me, just a quiet strength that had taken years of therapy to build. I remembered what Lisa, my therapist, once said. Mary, forgiveness doesn't always mean returning. Sometimes forgiveness means stopping. I had stopped and I wasn't going back. 3 days later, another email landed in my inbox. Sender, Amanda Collins. I know you're doing really well. Mom and Dad need help. This is your chance to do the right thing. My hands clenched, fingers cracking from tension. She just called me sister. So fake it was nauseating. Do the right thing? After she used my inheritance to fund her beach wedding? While she's buying Hermes bags and leaving our parents in the hospital because she doesn't want to bother her husband? I didn't reply. A week later, Mom called. Hospital number. I hesitated, then answered. Mary, it's Mom. I said nothing. She continued, voice weak, probably still in a hospital bed. I know. Your dad and I made mistakes. But now, the medical bills keep piling up. The doctor said your dad needs urgent surgery. I don't know where else to turn. Mary, you're our last hope. I spoke slowly. No, I'm not your last hope. I'm the one you chose to throw away. And now? You're coming back, not for love, but for money. My dad interrupted. His voice was rough and gravelly. What are you saying? Family is family. You can't turn your back now. I let out a cold laugh. Family is family? When Mom spent my inheritance on Amanda? When you said, you're not getting married, let your sister use the money? When everything I'd done my whole life was ignored just because I wasn't born first? Mom started crying, but this time, I didn't soften. Don't call me again, I said firmly. I'm not your daughter anymore. From the moment you chose Amanda as everything, I stopped being part of this family. I hung up. That night, I opened the bottle of Italian wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. Ruby curled up at my feet. With soft jazz playing in the background, I took a sip and thought, I was finally living the life I chose. No longer the backup plan. No longer Amanda's shadow. Just me. I had just set my glass down when the doorbell rang, exactly 7:42 p.m., an hour when no one familiar would drop by unannounced. Ruby perked up, alert. I walked to the door, glanced through the peephole and nearly laughed out loud. Amanda. Perfectly styled wavy hair, heavier than usual makeup, a tight ivory dress. And in her hand, a camel-colored Hermes bag, worth as much as a car. The irony. Her purse was nearly the cost of one of my dad's emergency surgeries. I opened the door, keeping my tone as cold as I would during a pitch to investors. Amanda, is it a full moon tonight or something? What brings you here? She gave a strained smile, trying to appear friendly. Hey, can I come in? I stepped aside. Amanda walked in like she still held some kind of rank in this home, her eyes scanning the upscale apartment I lived in. I saw the way she silently assessed every item, from the walnut bookshelves to the abstract painting in the corner. This place feels cozy. I smirked. Yeah, warmer than the cold I got from our family for the past 30 years. So, Amanda, what do you want? She clutched the strap of her bag, exhaled, and said, Mom and Dad, they really have nowhere else to turn. I know you're doing well. I know you can help them. I crossed my arms, leaning against the kitchen counter. I can, yes, but I won't. There's a big difference between ability and choice. Mary, don't be like this. They're still your parents. I raised an eyebrow. Since when? When they took my wedding money and gave it to you without saying a word? When they skipped my graduation because you were upset about a bad grade? Or when they said, I didn't need to get married, so the money should go to you? Amanda faltered. I could see the skin on her neck turning red. A telltale sign she was losing control. I didn't know back then. Mom said I needed it more. Yeah, you always needed more. And I was always expected to endure. I walked into my office, grabbed my laptop, brought it into the living room, set a chair in the middle of the space, and turned the screen toward Amanda. You want to talk money, right? Then take a good look. I pulled up my investment dashboard, stocks, savings accounts, even the real estate projects I'd invested in. The screen lit up with figures and charts, proof of years I spent clawing my way out of the shadow of the perfect child. Amanda stared, lips pressed tightly together. I enunciated every word. I could cover every single medical bill, but I won't, because I don't owe them, or you, anything anymore. But they raised you, Mary. And for what? To be your emergency wallet? To pave your way every time you failed? Do you remember how many times I helped you reapply for scholarships, wrote your essays, covered up your bad grades? And what did I get in return? Amanda swallowed hard. The Hermes bag in her hand might as well have doubled in weight. I was immature back then. That's the problem, Amanda. You've never grown up, you just take money, attention, other people's efforts. But today, I'm no longer the obedient little sister. I've grown up. And I know how to choose what's right for me. You're cruel, Mary. I snapped the laptop shut, stood up, and walked toward the door. No, cruel is coming to me with a $15,000 handbag, asking for help with our parents' hospital bills when you were the first to walk away. You're not here for them. You're here because you're scared people will find out that this small-town coder sister is the one holding all the power now. She froze. That last line cut right through her designer facade. I opened the door. Get out of my home. From now on, you and that entire family have nothing to do with me. Amanda stood there, eyes flickering between anger and shame. One day, you'll regret this. If I ever regret living for myself, then I'll deal with that. But you... Can you ever face the fact that your whole life, you've been borrowing love you never earned? Without waiting for her reply, I slammed the door shut. The apartment returned to silence. Ruby jumped onto the sofa and nudged my hand. I poured another glass of wine, leaned back and stared at the ceiling. It wasn't the feeling of defeating Amanda that brought me peace. It was the fact that, for the first time in my life, I had the courage to stand up and say, enough. 3 days after the confrontation with Amanda, I woke up on a quiet Sunday morning, brewed some coffee, opened my laptop, and did what I should have done a long time ago. I cut ties, completely and officially, with my toxic family. I logged into the family group chat on Messenger, a place where I'd been silent for over 2 years. There were still birthday wishes for Amanda, party photos, vacation pics of her and Logan and his kids in Italy. No one had asked if I was alive or dead. Not a word about me. Unless they needed something. I wrote a long message and attached all the documents. A photo of Grandma's will, clearly stating the inheritance was to be split evenly between the two of us. Bank statements showing the full amount was withdrawn just months before Amanda's wedding. Screenshots of Amanda's texts where she admitted she couldn't help our parents because it was inconvenient to ask Logan. A summary of my personal assets. Not to brag, but to answer the question, why didn't Mary help? I wrote. To the whole family. I know you've all heard only one version of this story. That I'm cold-hearted, ungrateful, that I turned my back when our parents needed me. This is the truth. This is what I lived through. I never demanded love. Only a little fairness. And even that was denied. Amanda, you took my wedding fund, the money Grandma left for me, and turned away when our parents needed saving. Mom and Dad, You didn't just abandon me. You used me as the backup wallet when your favorite daughter wouldn't pay. I've stayed silent long enough. Today, I end this relationship. No one in this group is my family anymore. And if any of you still think I'm cold-hearted, then hold on to that thought. I will never live to please people who made me feel like I was disposable. I hit send. 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No one replied. 16 people seen, not a single word. No apology, no defense. Only cousin Elle, my aunt's daughter in Florida, messaged me privately 2 hours later. I never knew how strong you were until today. Mary, you're a true inspiration. If anyone ever called you cold, it's only because they've never had to save themselves. I read that message over and over. No tears, just a steady heartbeat. For the first time in weeks. The following week I received an official promotion from the executive board. Head of engineering for the new Eastern Division office in Charlotte, North Carolina. Higher position, larger equity package, and a brand new team to build from the ground up. Without hesitation, I signed. Started the process of selling my condo in San Francisco. Ruby would come with me, the first cat I ever had that no one could take away. I closed the bank account linked to my parents' old address. Cut every possible tie. I hired a lawyer to draft a formal statement, declining all future financial responsibility for my parents, should they attempt any legal claims. One last night before I moved out, I stood on the balcony, looking down at the city I once thought of as my escape. Now, I wasn't running anymore. I was choosing myself. My closest friends threw me a small farewell party. Jasmine, Kyle, Lena and Josh, people who had witnessed me claw my way out of my family's shadow. They hugged me tightly and said, "Mary, this time, you're not running away, you're stepping forward." I smiled. A smile that came from deep within, light and full of peace. Before leaving the city, I posted a status on my profile. Not aimed at anyone, but clear to everyone. If protecting myself makes me cold-hearted, then so be it. I'd rather be cold and true to myself, than soft and stuck in a role someone else wrote for me. Not long after, I permanently blocked the remaining family accounts. Not out of hatred, but for peace. Today, Mary has risen above the dark past of a toxic family and the weight of invisible expectations. After decades of living in the shadow of favoritism and neglect, she bravely cut every tie to build a new life on her own terms. A thriving career, financial independence, and true friends helped Mary reclaim her worth. She has no regrets being labeled cold for choosing freedom, independence, and herself. Her life now stands as a testament to the power of self-worth and courage. What do you think about Mary's choice? Was she too harsh, or was she simply protecting herself after years of pain? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more deep and powerful family stories.